Okay, we will go ahead and begin tonight. Um, my name is Aaron Townsend, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for School Management here in Portland Public Schools. And tonight's event formally kicks off the high school options process for this year. Obviously, this is quite a bit different than anybody has anticipated, but we appreciate everybody's participation through Zoom and through what will be a virtual process this year, knowing that that's the best we can do in these times. So thank you for your patience and support. Tonight we'll be using the Q&A feature. So know that as the webinar, all of you as attendees are able, are muted upon coming in and video is not available. So please feel free to use the Q&A to ask questions throughout the presentation. Some may be responded to as we go. And then at the end, there'll be a time where we try and address many of the questions that were coming up during the presentation. So during tonight's presentation, we hope to accomplish a few important things. First, we want to share our district's vision for high school and what any student should expect no matter what school they choose. We hope to start to highlight for you the common strengths of our schools, as well as identify some of what makes them unique. In addition to sharing info about the schools, we want to build understanding about how to make the transition to high school successfully. Lastly, our goal is to share information about the process to learn more about the schools and to make your commitments for next year. We have developed a new web page that in this virtual medium is part of how we'll try and make information available both tonight as well as throughout this process. So we should be sharing that link now in the chat so that folks can access it this evening. And we will distribute it through the middle schools and make that available on our webpage moving forward. So even after tonight, you can access some of the documents that we have there that give you more information about each school. There's a comparison that kind of gives you all of the information about the schools side by side. And the forms that you'll need to complete and that your students eventually will need to return to their middle school counselors. We're going to start this evening with some introductions, and then we'll do an overview kind of generally of high school in Portland. Then each of our wonderful school leaders who have joined us will do short presentations about their schools. And lastly, we'll talk through the next steps in the options process. We'll end with a little bit of time, as I mentioned, for the Q&A that has come throughout the presentation. So first, before we dive in fully, I want to formally introduce the panelists that you'll be hearing from this evening. So first, we're joined tonight by our superintendent, Javier Botana, who will speak in just a moment. We have Derek Pierce, the Casco Bay principal, the co-principals from Deering High, Allison Dame and Abdullahi Ahmed. Kevin Stilfen, the director of our Portland Arts and Technology High School, is with us, as well as Sheila Jepson, the principal of Portland High. Thank you all for being here with us this evening. So I'd like to turn it over now to Superintendent Botana to frame our district vision around high school.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here tonight and to welcome all of you on behalf of the Portland Public Schools Board and our administration and our staff. I want to take a minute to thank the many people who have worked to make this session possible. You've heard already from Assistant Superintendent Aaron Townsend and from Maureen Clancy. Maureen's team is here with us today, and they are many of the interpreters who are making it possible for us to ensure that this reaches our entire community, and we're grateful for them. I'm also grateful for Grace Valenzuela, our Communications and Community Partnerships Director, who's also with us tonight, and among other things has worked to make our webpage possible. You'll be hearing from our amazing high school leaders, and I want to thank them and their school-based teams for everything that they've done to prepare for tonight, as well as everything that they will be doing in the coming weeks to help you through this process. As Erin said, this is an unprecedented year to be making these types of decisions. Actually, it's an unprecedented year to be making any decisions. Selecting a high school is a very important decision, and today is the formal beginning of that process, although I recognize that many of you have been thinking about this and preparing for it for a long time. I've met families in my time here in Portland that have told me that they moved to Portland specifically because of the ability to choose a high school. Some of them because they wanted to pick a specific high school, but some just because they wanted to have this ability. Portland has had high school choice in place since the early 1990s. Last fall, we engaged in a fairly extensive process with the Board of Education to discuss whether it still made sense to do this or whether we should think about changing to something like geographic assignments, and the answer was a resounding no. And it wasn't just from the board, it was also from parents and students and many of our staff who also value this process. I want to acknowledge, as I think the board did, that with choice comes competition. And sometimes competition can be a negative. So we're working, and I hope you will see this reflected in our agenda and our presentations, to be more deliberate about the choice-making process so that we feature the strengths of all three of our schools without comparing those strengths to each other. I expect that we will follow those norms of elevating and not tearing down. All of this work is happening in the context of our commitment as an organization to equity, which is central to the focus of our organization. And it's in that context that we work to make sure that all four of our high schools do those things that you see on this slide. Work to eliminate the factors that contribute to variability in results. Adopt practices that successfully build on the unique attributes that every student and every family brings with them. Strengthen your engagement as families in our schools and bring in the resources, the experiences, and the talents of the entire community to open new opportunities for our students. And that will be the focus of our presentations tonight and throughout our process. Can I have the next slide, please? So we aim for this to be the result of everything that we do as an organization. We want to make sure that our students leave prepared and empowered for the next step in their lives. That's what each of our high schools focus on, and they do it in their own unique ways. And that is what tonight is the beginning of for many of you, helping you to understand how they do it and helping you to find the right fit for you. To the parents in the room, I will tell you that these next 4 years will go by in a blur. My own son graduated this past summer. He went to Casco Bay High School for a number of reasons, and he had an amazing experience there. And I want to end my comments with a little, excuse me. I want to end my comments with a little story about that, because I think it highlights what really matters the most and what matters in the end. In June, I took David, my son, to drop off his Chromebook and pick up his graduation gown. And as we were leaving the parking lot, David was sitting next to me in the car and he said, "Casco's been a good school for me." So he's 18 years old, so he rarely talks to me. So at first I thought maybe he was on his phone with someone. And so I had to check that he was actually talking to me. I realized that 18-year-olds don't actually use their phone for talking, but I'm old fashioned. And so for a moment there, I thought maybe he was on the phone. So I said, "Why is that?" And so he said to me that the most important thing that he's learned at Casco is how to be kinder and more patient as a person. He said that it's been incredibly challenging to learn side by side with people with vastly different life experiences and yet find common ground in learning with and from each other. And to me, that was it. That was the essence of what the high school experience should be for everyone. It should be a place where you learn a great deal about math and history and science and art. And David definitely did that. But he also learned a lot about himself. He learned a lot about others, and he learned a lot about learning. And so I'm confident that whatever you wind up selecting in the Portland Public Schools, you will do that and you will graduate prepared and empowered. And so I hope that tonight is the beginning of what will be a definitely challenging, but very much worthwhile next step in you and your child's educational career. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Batana. We're going to pause just a minute as we've had a number of families join late to make sure that our multilingual families have been able to access the translation.
Hi, everybody. My name's Maureen Clancy with the Multilingual Office. If you're joining us tonight and you need an interpreter and you're using your computer, you're going to look for this symbol circled here in red at the bottom of your screen. Pick that or click on that and select interpretation, then the language that you need, then mute original audio. If you're joining us on a phone, next slide, Erin, please. You're going to be looking for the More button on your phone, circled here in red. Click on that. Click on Language Interpretation. Find your language. Mute the original audio and click Done or Save. Next slide. The languages we have tonight: Portuguese, French, and Spanish. Select Portuguese, French, or Spanish. Zoom does not have all of our languages. If you need Arabic, you're going to select German, but you will hear Arabic. For Somali, select Korean, but you'll hear Somali. For Vietnamese, select Chinese, but you'll hear Vietnamese. And Lingala, select Japanese. If you have any problems, raise your hand or put a question in the Q&A and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so thank you, Superintendent Botana. Thank you, Maureen. We, again, here in Portland, we're very fortunate to be able to offer our community 4 incredible options for high school. We have our 2 larger high schools, Portland High in downtown and Deering High in the Deering Center neighborhood. We also have 2 smaller high schools. Casco Bay High School is our expeditionary learning high school. And the Portland Arts and Technology High School, PATHS, provides career and technical education opportunities to students in Portland and from surrounding communities. You'll get a chance to hear a bit more about each school momentarily. However, before we talk about the wonderful, unique qualities of each school, we want to emphasize what all of our schools have in common so that no matter where a student attends, that they will graduate prepared and empowered. One of the core things that binds our schools together are shared beliefs and practices about what effective teaching and learning looks like. These core beliefs inform the experience students have throughout classrooms in every school. For example, we believe that all learners can rise to high expectations and that each learner has different strengths, needs, and starting points in their learning journey. Thus, we must provide the right kinds of supports to meet these range of needs. We also believe at all of our schools that students must experience belonging, engagement, and joy to be successful. We place value on all aspects of a student's experience to ensure they are prepared and empowered as graduates. Their academics, work habits, and social emotional skills are all equally important. Lastly, we view it as essential that students practice and learn from their mistakes as part of the learning process. These core beliefs guide our instructional approach at each of our schools. In addition to these core beliefs about teaching and learning, each of our high schools provides a common range of programs and opportunities. All students can earn the seal of biliteracy or a STEM endorsement from any of our schools. All of our schools have a range of supports for our English learners and programs for students with special needs. Every school provides academic and social emotional supports through their outstanding guidance departments and social work teams. Each of our schools also has the Make It Happen program to support our multilingual students through the college application process and pursuing post-secondary education. Academically, each school offers a number of early college or dual enrollment opportunities where students can engage in college-level coursework while still in high school. All schools also have a range of advanced placement courses for students to challenge themselves. There are a range of world language options available at each of our schools, and each high school offers job readiness and internship opportunities through our extended learning options and with partners such as Jobs for Maine graduates. As you'll hear in a bit, all of our upperclassmen can access the industry-focused programming that PATHS offers during their junior and senior years. Each school also has a range of clubs and co-curricular opportunities to allow students to develop and pursue their unique interests. Deering and Portland, of course, have strong and storied athletic programs, and Casco Bay students are able to participate in either of those while still also attending as a Casco Bay student. Each school offers parent-teacher conferences, newsletters, and other structures to build and maintain the relationships with families that make the students' careers in high school successful. Lastly, of course, each of our schools is accessible by public transportation and metro, so that no matter where you live in the city, you can get to any one of our schools. Now, as you prepare for your high school journey, we want to be clear about what students need to accomplish to graduate and show they are prepared and empowered for their futures. The main requirement is demonstrating proficiency in what's referred to as the Maine learning results, which are the core academic content standards that must be met. I'll speak more about these in a moment in the next slide. Additionally, students need to demonstrate the Maine guiding principles. These are a clear and effective communicator, a self-directed and lifelong learner, a creative and practical problem solver, a responsible and involved citizen, and an integrated and informed thinker. Students get the opportunity to develop and demonstrate these skills through their coursework over their high school career. Additionally, students must complete a capstone project, usually during their senior year, to bring together their interests and achievements during their time in high school. Lastly, each student will develop a post-secondary plan that informs how our schools help them grow to be prepared and empowered for their futures beyond the Portland Public Schools. As I mentioned in the last slide, one of the central requirements for graduation is the demonstration of the core knowledge and skills students need for their lives in the future. Historically, these have been referred to as the credits students need to graduate. We have shifted our focus over the past couple years to be more clear about the specific skills and knowledge that students need, rather than focusing on the time that they have spent in classes and measuring their achievement based on that. Our incredible teachers and staff and leadership have done work over the past few years to identify key graduation standards in each content area. Achieving these in their courses is part of what earns students what we refer to as these units of proficiency. Students must earn 21 UPs, as we've begun to call them, to graduate over their 4 years in high school. As you can see below on the slide, there are a certain number of UPs that they must earn in different content areas over these 4 years. However, we do expect that each year students will be taking courses that address those 4 core subject areas of English, social studies, history, science, and math, in addition to different electives and other opportunities to pursue their interests. So if that is what students are trying to accomplish to graduate from high school, we want to focus on the transition you will all be making in the coming year, as research has shown that the 9th grade year is the most important year in a student's high school career. As we know, students are experiencing significant academic and social changes at this time. With increased academic and social demands, it can be a difficult time for a lot of students. To navigate these challenges, the school and family partnerships are essential. While being involved in school may look different than it did in elementary school, it is just as important. Research has shown that attendance is the greatest factor in student success in 9th grade. Please do everything you can to make sure your students do not miss school, certainly this year, but most importantly, as they transition into 9th grade. Unfortunately, because of these challenges, students are more likely to fail a course in 9th grade than in any other year of high school. And these course failures can have an incredibly negative impact on students' chances to graduate within 4 years. Students who pass all 4 of their core classes, English, history, math, and science, are 4 times more likely to graduate on time than students who do not. So this coming year is critical to help students get well established and on a path to success. So, what should you and your students expect in 9th grade? In terms of courses, all students will take an English, math, social studies, and science class at any of our schools. They will also take a number of additional electives, such as foreign language, PE, or art, depending on the school and the student's interest. For many of our classes, all of our schools offer honors options, and course placement is determined through a collaboration of the 8th grade teacher recommendations, family input, and the 9th grade staff's understanding of the curriculum. Students will work with guidance counselors in the spring to make these course selections. Knowing how important this 9th grade year is, our schools have developed a number of support structures to support this transition. First, all of our schools offer some version of a freshman team. Casco and Portland have had these team structures in place for some time, and Deering has also recently reestablished this structure. These teams are where there is a smaller number of teachers who work with a group of 9th graders to get to know them well and support their success. Each school also offers an advisory, crew, or seminar structure to help build community among the students and staff and to help guide them through this transition. Also, each school offers some kind of additional academic support to students to make sure they are getting the support they need to be successful in this critical 9th grade year. Lastly, before we hear a little bit more about each of our schools, we want to emphasize the important role you all play in supporting student success and offer some strategies to help your students as you make this transition as a family. The first is establishing strong routines. Help them set time and places to study regularly. The increased academic demands may be a challenge for all of you, and these routines will help support that. Also, please monitor their progress regularly. You will be able to access our student information system, Infinite Campus, to check on their grades and attendance. The schools will provide support in navigating this platform so you can stay informed about how your students are doing, and we can catch any issues before they grow into larger problems. Also, please stay engaged with your students. Adolescence can be a hard time on all of us, students, parents, schools alike, but they need you now as much as they did when they were starting school in kindergarten. Find ways to show them you believe they can be successful and that they will succeed and have bright futures ahead of them. So this overview gives a picture of kind of some of the common approaches to our high school in Portland. And I'm excited now to introduce some of our school leaders for them to give you some initial introductions to what makes each of our schools unique and special in its own right. So first, I'd like to introduce Principal Derek Pierce of Casco Bay High School.
Good evening, everybody. Nice, I can't say it's nice to see you, but I'm sure it would be nice to see you, but it's exciting that 200 members and families representing the class of 2025 are here tonight. Very exciting. Thanks for giving more of your time on what I'm sure has been a screen-filled day for many of you to learn some more about high school options today. And I'm so proud to be both working in Portland Public Schools and a parent of 2 alumni of Portland Public Schools. Especially in the last year, I have been so grateful to be part of an organization that is committed to both equity and excellence for each of our students, as you will hear a lot about tonight. So Casco Bay High School, our motto is get smart to do good. And at the essence, we believe each kid is great and has greatness within them. And it is our job to help them cultivate that greatness, their particular genius, and figure out how to channel that in a way that betters the world. And so that is what we see as the purpose of our education. Next slide, please, Aaron. So a little bit about who we are. As was noted in an earlier slide, we're just under 400 students, about 400 per grade. We are a reflection of Portland's glorious diversity in every sense. We have some of the world's greatest teachers working with your students. 3/4 of the teachers who helped found the school 16 years ago are still with us, which is awesome. And we are driven by 3 values: rigor, relevance, and relationships. By rigor, we mean we want to push each student to what we call a respectful level of challenge, so that they are doing work they thought they never possibly could do, work that may change their sense of what's possible for themselves and for their world. And we want that work to matter, to be relevant, to matter to them, to matter to their community, and maybe even to matter to the world. And then we care deeply about connecting our students to one another, connecting them to our faculty, connecting them to our community and the broader world in which their work will be shared. So a few points about how we're distinct. Next slide. So I mentioned we are a newer school. We are honored to share the stage with 2 of New England's most venerable high schools in Deering and Portland, and we share a building proudly with Portland Arts and Technology High School. We're the new kids, though we're 16, so we're adolescents, like many of the folks listening in, I guess. We are intentionally small, and as the superintendent and the assistant superintendent noted, that's to give students a choice who may want a smaller community. Our intention in being small is to get to know each kid deeply and try to customize what we do to maximize that student's potential. And we are what's called an expeditionary learning school, or EL education. Presumpscot and King Middle School use a similar model. That means our students are engaged often in long-term interdisciplinary topics. Right now, for instance, our 9th grade are focusing on developing presentations around aspects of Wabanaki culture and towards presenting to educators at our elementary schools about how to improve the teaching of that curriculum to our younger students. Our sophomores are finishing a study of racial injustice and are developing their own anti-racist action statements. Our juniors are developing public policy presentations on topics from DACA to bail reform that they'll be presenting to experts and defending in later this winter. And our seniors tomorrow will be laying an exhibit of original artwork they've created in response to their study of Israeli-Palestinian history, culture, and relations. Here's what's next in the process. Next slide, please, Aaron. All of the high schools will be having open houses. Ours happens to be the next one coming up on the schedule, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now. December 15th from 6 to 8, it'll be similarly formatted. Sadly, we can't have you guys in our buildings, but we will give you a more in-depth sense of what's up at each of our schools at our open houses. So we encourage you to come. We'll have students too. You won't have to hear just old administrator people talking, but there'll be kids and parents and staff to learn from. Because we're limited in size, if we have more student interest than space, we will have a lottery that would happen by March 1st. And there's a form, just a single piece of paper that will probably be shared tonight that would need to be completed by February 12th in order to express your interest in Casco Bay High School. That form does not need to come in any sooner than February 12th. Any form we receive by that date is considered equal. Typically, 70 to 90% of students who turn in a form on time are offered a spot by September. It does vary by year and class size. And then we all begin our orientation process sometime in the spring. And that's a little tidbit about Casco Bay High School. I hope to see you all in a couple weeks, or virtually all, on December 15th. And I now will turn it back over to Assistant Superintendent Townsend to learn about Deering High School.
Great. Thank you, Derek. And excited to introduce Allison Dame and Abdullahi Ahmed, the co-principals of Deering High School.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. I am Allison Dame. I am one of the co-principals at Deering High School, and I'll take a moment to let my colleague introduce himself.
And I'm Abdullahi Ahmed, and I'm the other co-principal at the Deering High School.
As Mr. Pierce said, we are very proud to work at Portland Public Schools in a district that does center equity and believe in high expectations for all learners, and certainly, like the other two schools, we value that very much at Deering. Our motto and vision at Deering is that we believe we succeed together when everyone is valued, challenged, and empowered, and that none of those things can happen without the others. And so each step we take, or choice we make, or program we choose, we really filter through that lens and ask, is it getting us closer to a community where everyone is valued, challenged, and empowered? Next slide, please. So academically, we are proud to offer a wide variety of high-level courses and the supports to help every learner get to those. So one of our key tenets is that we are a challenge by choice school. What that means is that in consultation with their advisor and school counselor and teachers, any student may choose to take an honors or an AP class. We do not require the prerequisites. And that's in order to allow students to challenge themselves and to not be held back necessarily by previous experiences. We are very proud of the ways that this has helped students take on challenges they might not have otherwise. We have 16 AP classes, and students have the opportunity to begin taking those AP classes in 9th grade with our AP Human Geography class. We also, like the other high schools, have positive relationships with local colleges. And this year we are offering 2 dual credited courses, including a new African American history course with USM. So students do earn high school and college credits. And many students choose their own classes and attend SMCC and USM classes while at Deering. Next slide. We have a wonderful co-curricular program that is always changing based on student advocacy, and also as Assistant Superintendent Townsend said, a storied athletic program. I will let you read this slide, but I'll just sort of highlight the social media team and the esports, which I think show you the ways we're always changing and adapting and creating those 21st century skills and trying to make room for all students to be involved in those co-curriculars where we do think they have some of the most memorable and empowering experiences of their high school career. Next slide. So this evening, we wanted to end by letting the students tell their experiences. And we hope that this provides a taste for what you will experience when you come to our open house. As Principal Pierce said, we will be very excited to welcome all of you on to the open house where you will really get to hear about Deering from our teachers and from our students, and you can take some deeper dives into particular programs or departments. So please do join us. Ours is January 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'll just lift up a couple of these comments because I think together they do represent the school well. Aiden is lifting up the fact that going to the different programs, both the academic and the athletics and the clubs, is what knits the community together and creates a sense of community throughout the school. Khalid similarly was nervous about coming freshman year, but found that he was greeted with open arms. Lynn is lifting up the rigor and the academic component, which does, again, like our other high schools, consistently help people create paths to some of the most elite schools in the state and the country. And finally, Nazik, who, as a ninth grader, spoke about, the ways teachers had reached out to her and talked to her about her aspirations for after high school and started that post-secondary planning right away. So thank you very much for coming tonight, and please do join us January 7th at 6 p.m. for our Deering Open House webinar.
Thank you very much, Deering team. I'm excited now to turn it over to Kevin Stilfen, the Director of Paths. Kevin?
Great. Thank you for inviting me to this event. Once your student chooses one of the 3 excellent high schools in Portland, whether it's Casco Bay, Portland, or Deering, they will eventually be exposed to the concept of coming to Paths. Paths is a career and technical education school that grew out of the old vocational education model. At Paths, students have the opportunity to learn technical skills, which could be as simple as learning how to frame a house or tune an engine, and apply academic concepts that they will learn at their high schools and be reinforced at Paths, and to strengthen those academic skills. Next slide, please. A short overview. One of the things that is important to understand that your student will have the opportunity and choice to come to Paths. They will still be students at Deering, Portland, and Casco Bay. They still can be in clubs and sports. They still are part of that community, but really they go to 2 different schools. They would spend a half a day with us and half a day at their sending high school and receive their high school diploma from that high school. Our programs are 2-year-long programs, 2.5 hours a day, and it's built to get the students to a point where they can earn a national certification or a credential of value. Our traditional model has always been juniors and seniors. There has been a lot of talk about expanding access to career and technical education, and that's why you'll see that we are also taking sophomores. There's no cost associated to coming to Paths, except when I talk to students is your cost is to step outside your comfort zone and commit to 2 different schools. They work on state-of-the-art equipment. The national certification exams come through, and that's part of what we offer that we pay for. The recruitment process will start for students the end of their freshman year. We will do presentations, and then we will do visitations. And what we ask students to do is spend 2.5 hours in a program, fully embedded, so they know that, it's just not Mr. Stilfen selling me something. This is a great program. I want to do it, or maybe it isn't what I want to do. And sort of to piggyback on some of the message tonight, the secret to success for students at PATH, but at the other schools, is attendance, 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 and attendance. The hardest thing for us to do is to have a student who wants to come to PATH, but is behind in ups at their sending school, and they cannot fit it in their schedule. Because the collaboration that we have with our sending schools, we want them to get their high school diploma plus certifications. That's a win-win for us, for the student in our communities. Next slide. Certifications. This is an example of some of the certifications students can get. They can get a CNA certification, which is a state license. We have college credit opportunities. And it's a hands-on learning, career education exposure for the kids. They really enjoy the aspect of hands-on and applying academic knowledge. Nothing teaches geometry better than trying to build stairs. Next slide. These are our programs. I won't go through each one of them. If there are questions, feel free to reach out to me. We offer all of these programs. They're 2-year programs, certifications. These programs are also tied to the employment trends that offer stable, well-paying jobs, opportunities for continued education, post-secondary education, and have national certifications and national standards. PATH is a great opportunity for all the students in Portland. So we look forward to having more of our Portland students at PATH from Casco Bay, Deering, and Portland. So thank you, Aaron.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. Excited now to turn it over to Ms. Sheila Jepson, the principal at Portland High School. Thanks, Sheila.
Thanks, Aaron, and good evening, everybody. It's nice to have everybody here. And as you can probably tell, we're all very excited to talk about our high schools. And I think that you'll find you have only good choices at our schools. And as you've heard, we each have a little different perspective, and we bring that to our school. So Casco Bay is the new kid on the block. Portland High is celebrating its 200th year this year of being in existence. We're pretty proud of that. And we have spent the past year and a half planning a fabulous 200th celebration with lots of activities and events, and then COVID hit. So we're hoping that in some small way we'll be able to do something. But we are looking forward to celebrating our 200th class when they graduate in June. So our building is a historic building. We're in the heart of downtown. One of our mottos that we speak about is "The city is our campus." Another thing that makes our school unique, and like all of our schools, is what our staff bring to the classroom. Our staff are innovative and creative and energetic, and they bring that sense to the classroom. And of course, our students also add that fabric to our school and make us who we are. Next slide, please. As was mentioned earlier, our school has a freshman academy, and we are we're in the midst of our 9th year of the freshman academy. And that has really been our focus around making sure that the transition of your students from 8th to 9th grade is a seamless one. We will provide, we believe that our 9th grade teams offer real support to students and to you in making that transition. And we're a safety net. We're there, and we catch students when we feel like they may be dipping a little bit. The focus of our freshman academy also is to promote academic and personal growth. we offer a freshman seminar course specifically around helping students navigate high school, to develop self-advocacy skills, to expand their academic and social language that's necessary for success. They do things like practice note-taking, time management skills, study skills, work on social and human relationships, and they learn about themselves, who they are as learners. We are also very fortunate to have one staff member dedicated to supporting, organizing, coordinating the freshman team in our 9th grade Academy Leader. Next slide. I think what you'll find as you go to our open houses, as you talk to people who have been to our high schools, you will find, and specific to Portland High, that students will find their place. They will get a sense of what it's like to belong. And at our school, we allow students to explore their interests. So if you're interested in art, in music, in theater, if you're interested in going to paths, you can do that. If you are solely interested in a hardcore, rigorous curriculum, you will get that too, and you will graduate prepared to go where you want to go. I believe, and we believe strongly, that our staff cares, connects, and challenges students each of their 4 years in high school. And the next slide. You can find out more about Portland High School at our virtual open house on January 14th at 6 o'clock. And we look forward to that webinar and to answering any questions you might have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you for being here and your work in leading our schools over the past number of years, and certainly in this challenging moment right now, seeing all the pictures of students engaged and celebrating and together makes me look forward to coming school years when these rising 9th graders will be in those places. We want to conclude tonight before we open for any questions with just a few notes about the process from here. So first, you've heard just a little snippet about each of our schools and about some of the things that we have in common across all of our schools. So there'll be many things for you to consider as you and your students and your families make the choice about which of our 3 great high schools you will someday call your high school. So there are factors like their location, the size, as we referenced, the differences in schedules, the learning model, the kinds of supports you might access, and the different sports and clubs. Though each school has a wide range of each, there might be something that piques your interest, particularly at a given school or a student's interest. So in addition to that, we wanted to offer a few potential questions for you to consider as you think more about these schools, participate in the open houses, and engage with the school communities. So one might be a question that you might ask. You attend.
C'est une question que vous pouvez poser.
Sorry, Erin. One of our interpreters lost her connection. So let me just put her back in real quick.
Sure.
All right, we should be better. We should be okay.
Thank you, Maureen. So sometimes we get asked, what are the SAT scores of students at a various school? And I think we'd offer to reframe that question to be, how might a school diagnose what every student needs to be prepared for college? And how does your programming support every student's growth? Another question to invite is, we are so lucky in Portland to be part of such a diverse community, is how have schools adapted their curriculum to be more representative, to promote critical thinking, and develop understanding of diverse perspectives that are critical to be prepared and empowered in the world we live in. And then ultimately, in terms of that final goal, a question that might get asked is, how do you know your alumni have gone on to lead lives of purpose? There are many opportunities in the post-secondary success plans that students develop, can take them in a myriad of directions and opportunities, all of which have value and can contribute to our world. And we want to be schools in a district that help support students engage with those opportunities in high school to be able to lead lives beyond with purpose and as responsible and involved citizens. So some of the next steps are to continue to attend these informational events. Again, we all desperately wish these could happen in person. There's nothing like experiencing the feel of our schools. But alas, we're playing the hand we're dealt this year. So we have our Parent U event tonight to kick things off. You've heard about each of the school-based virtual open houses that will be coming up. And we're working on finalizing plans for student virtual visit days that all 8th graders will be able to experience in late January. Finally, ultimately, to indicate your interest in high school, you will complete the letter of commitment. And if you are interested in Casco Bay, complete the Casco Bay lottery form. Both of these forms are due to middle school counselors by February 12th. And our wonderful middle school teams will help support you in that process. The Casco Bay lottery will be held, as you heard, just after the February vacation, so that families who are interested in that option will know if they have been offered a spot. And from there, we begin the process that we talked about around course selection, leading to the orientation and engagement opportunities before the close of the 8th grade year, so students are ready for their 9th grade year. The open house dates are as you see here. So the next one coming up is Casco Bay on December 17th. PATHS will be hosting another Parent U event about the career technical education programs they offer on December 21st. And then just into the new year, both Deering and Portland will offer their virtual open houses on January 7th and the 14th. So we'll continue to push out the flyers with those Zoom links. The website that we're sharing has links to them always, so you can, don't have to keep track of it, can go there. And each of our events will offer translation so that all families can access these events. So with that, again, the contact information, our wonderful school leaders and school websites are here. And that information is also on the school comparison document that's on the web page that we've shared. So with that, I'd pause and give folks a chance to enter any questions in the Q&A chat that any of us can answer for you this evening to help kick off this process for high school options.
Aaron, one question that's coming up, just to clarify, is whether Casco Bay's open house is on the 15th or the 17th.
15th.
15th.
There we go.
We have a snow day of the 17th, but in a virtual world, I think we'll be safe on the 15th.
Got it. Thank you. Molly, any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay, I'm going to stop my screen share for a moment.
Can you share the dates for the open houses again?
Yeah, sure thing. Let me.
One question that just came up is Casco Bay a hands-on learning school?
Yes, I guess. I mean, it depends on what's one's definition of that is. We do a lot of project-based learning that is grounded in real-world issues. If by hands-on learning you mean building houses, then that's more likely to live within the world of paths and career and technical education. But our curriculum is grounded in tackling the biggest problems our world faces.
Thank you, Derek. The next question is, can a student change their mind after filling out the form?
Liz,
You
go ahead,
want-
Sheila.
Yes, students can, but we really like students to, once they make a decision, to stay with that decision, because the enrollment at each of our schools is important as we plan and prepare for classes and staffing. So we don't want a lot of change going on. We hope that by the time when you've attended the open houses, you'll have made a clear decision.
And to add to that, students may transfer among the high schools up until the first week of school, and then transferring kind of stops, because once you're in a school, we want you to give it a full year's try and really experiencing that, so we don't have schools or students bouncing around among the high schools during the school year. After freshman year, after sophomore year, after junior year, it can be possible. But once you're committed to a school and the school year starts, we'd like you to fully experience that school year for a whole lot of reasons.
The next question is, how many students are at Portland and at Deering? At Portland High, we're about 890 students this year. That will change a little bit next year, but just around 890 students.
And at Deering, we have about 735 students.
The next question is, we are a homeschooling family as well, and wondering the impact on our kids' chances of getting into any given school, particularly Casco Bay, given that we are not in the system. How do I ensure that I continue to receive information about the process, given that we are homeschoolers?
I'll answer the first part to say anybody who submits a form of interest to Casco Bay, who will be a Portland resident by September 2021, it's all equal. It doesn't matter where someone may have attended school in 8th grade. And to stay informed, I would suggest maybe writing each of the high school principals, and we can make sure that you're aware of any transition dates. So the big ones are here tonight. There aren't many more as large as these dates.
And I would add that, the same is true, for any of the high schools that, somebody coming in who's going to be, reside in Portland and enrolled, Casco has the lottery, but then, somebody who's coming in, Portland and Deering would accept students, as they come in and enroll in the system. And we hope to be able to use the website there that, we're kind of launching now in this virtual format to be able to help keep folks inside the district and within the community in general informed.
The next question is, are there plans in place for the possibility to start the year with remote learning? Most importantly, how would this affect incoming first-year students?
Oh man, we hope not. But certainly if that's the reality we're confronted with, we would tackle that. One thing that certainly some folks might be familiar with is that this year, as we approach this year, we did prioritize our 9th graders for in-person learning, because as we've spoken about tonight of the importance of that 9th grade year and that transition, to make sure that we could build connection and relationship with those students. So that was one of the strategies that we had used this year to be able to support our first year students coming to high school in this remote learning environment.
The next question is, what is the learning model for Portland High School?
Our model, especially in ninth grade, is an academy team model. Students are in teams where there's a English, math, science, and social studies teacher on that team, and students move within that team. And students are able to self-select what courses they want to take and what level they want to take without prerequisite.
Great, thank you. Will the student virtual open houses be before they need to make a decision?
Yes, yep, all of those. So the school-wide open houses, as we've said here, have the dates up. And then the student virtual days will be in the latter part of January before the forms are due on February 12th.
What will the system for choosing electives and planning students' schedules be?
I'll start with that. So I think I think we all have a similar approach, which is we work with the counselors at the middle school they know and understand what our electives are. Our academy leader will work with you as a family, and our high school counselors will also work with you to talk about what electives there are. In ninth grade, there are limited electives because students have to take the core English, math, science, social studies, freshman SEM. They usually take a world language. And so they don't have as much time to take electives in ninth grade, but they have plenty of time in their other years in high school to take electives. But we work closely with the middle school counselors to do that for our students.
Are there any other high schools that want to answer that question? System for choosing electives and planning school schedules?
The process at Deering is similar. The first step is that our counselors work with the 8th grade counselors to determine the schedule based on that. But then, families and students can also be involved. And we do have a few offerings for ninth grade electives like art and PE or a world language if they wish. But like at Portland, the opportunity to take electives only grows as they begin to get those core content classes under their belt.
Yeah, it's similar for us. There's a core curriculum for most freshmen. We do have something called intensives, which are electives that are kind of mini courses that happen twice a year, and students pick those, and they range from rocketry to filmmaking. Those will be chosen during the school year once you've arrived.
There are a few questions that are about individual schools. So if the principals can check that and answer those, or we can answer them later. The next question is, for students in remote academy, how will that communication be happening between the student and the counselor?
Yeah, the guidance counselors from the middle school still provide support to the students in remote academy. So we will need to coordinate, and that is on our radar for part of even the virtual visit days, of making sure that those students also still have access to both these opportunities to learn about the schools, as well as certainly when we get later into the year, as our principals have been talking about, to do the course planning. So the student, if you are a King student or a Lincoln or a Moore student, the homeschool counselors will continue to work with you to support to make sure you're engaged in that process.
Do Deering and Casco have something similar to Portland's freshman academy?
Yes, at Casco Bay, all of our kids are on teams in 9th grade, 10th grade, and really 11th grade. Senior year, it's a bit less of a team structure, but we have teams of teachers working with teams of students consistently throughout high school, and every student has a faculty advisor who's kind of the person looking out for their educational experience holistically, and making sure that they're fully known and understood in each of their 4 years.
We do have a teacher team called Team 9 that meets and does get to talk about the students and their progress and share ideas and improve, work to do the best by that cohort. And then also importantly, all our students are in an advisory, and those advisories are tailored to each school year. So our advisory coordinators in our school counselor office are working together to create a curriculum for that advisory that's really focused on that 9th grade year and the transition. So yes.
Thank you. Is taking a foreign language required to graduate in any of the 4 years of high school?
I'll take that. Taking a foreign language is not required for graduation, but it is strongly suggested for students who are going to apply to college. College likes to see 2 years of a world language, so we would encourage students to do that, but it is not a graduation requirement.
Do all schools let you take AP classes?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a range of AP offerings that you'll be able to learn about at the school open houses at each of our high schools.
Throughout high school, will any Marine recruiters be there?
Yes, we do have recruiters that come in, and they're allowed to come in once a month, not each branch, but one branch per month. And so there's a rotation that they plan for and come in and meet with students.
What are the foreign languages available at each school?
So at Deering, we have Arabic, French, Spanish, and and Mandarin Chinese.
At Cascabay, we have French, Spanish, and Chinese. And then at all of our schools, you can take online or you could take virtual languages. You can take language courses. We've had students take Japanese and Italian at USM. So being in a college town gives us even more options, which is great.
And at Portland High, we offer French, Spanish, Latin, and American Sign Language.
Thank you. How are gifted IEPs handled in the high schools?
I mean, I think our approach is we want to get to know each student well and partner with parents and their past educators to get to know kids deeply and customize plans, whatever those plans may be for those particular kids' gifts, whether they have their chapter 104 or they speak 5 languages or whatever their particular passion and skills. We want to further develop it while making sure they have the essentials they need to be successful, whatever their future pursuits.
I would say that's similar. An individual education plan is that. And so we would tailor the needs of the student based on their individual education plan.
And would offer, I mean, at the high school level, the range of courses and those kind of course offerings are a lot of the ways that we try and differentiate to meet students' needs, to make sure they have the right kinds of courses to push and challenge them, whether that's true, at Deering or Portland, or that they engage in some of the honors options and things like that that Casco offers. So there's a range of ways to individualize for student needs, both in terms of advancing in that way, as well as providing supports for students to be able to access the kind of grade level content and the graduation standards for students who may have disabilities and need support to access that content.
Thank you. Is studying abroad offered?
Yeah, we work with CIEE and they have some scholarships, and we sent not this summer, but this summer before that, there are students who went to Morocco to study there. So we work with CIEE closely, and we have some programs that the students can go abroad.
Yeah, we have several students each year who choose to study abroad, typically for a semester, but sometimes for a whole year.
Right, and the same happens for Portland High School.
Thank you.
Erin, I think we have a question from one of our language minority families. I'm just going to, they raised their hand. I'm going to release the French interpreter to see if they can help them.
Great.
Josephine, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Can you ask our attendee, I think the last name is Cabwit, if he has a question he would like to ask, he or she?
Salut, c'est maman ou papa Kabouit. Vous avez une question? Vous pouvez m'écrire votre question sur mon cellulaire, c'est 207 710 33 23.
It looks like they're muted, Josephine, so maybe they just raised their hand by accident.
I can't hear her or him, but I gave
Oh,
my
there they are.
phone.
Hold on.
So I can speak English. I don't have a problem with French. I can speak
Okay.
English.
Oh, d'accord.
Great. Go ahead. You have a question?
Yes, my question is about I just I'm very thankful for the Casco Bay High School. The principal is a very good one. I say thank you.
Thank
But
you.
I want to ask you about the 15th of December. We must go there and collect the paper, or we're gonna wait for the paper for the paper to come with the children at the house, or else we're gonna go there at 6 o'clock, the 15th of December is where I wanna know.
Great, thank you. I believe, Aaron, are we making that form available tonight?
Yep, it is linked
Vous avez
on.
disponibilisé donc le formulaire
Maybe.
ce soir.
It's okay, I put her back in. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, the form is available on that website. It will also be distributed over the next couple of weeks, in hand to 8th graders, in person when they're in person at school, but it's also available electronically, on the website that we're sharing.
And it's on probably each school's website as well. And thank
And
you
again,
for the kind words.
And again, remember just for everybody that each of these events will be virtual open houses. So we don't want anybody showing up at the schools on any of those dates because there won't be anybody to greet you.
Okay, that's all. I just want to thank for principal for Casco Bay, because two of my children, they were there, they graduating there. They are doing very well at school, at university. So I'm thankful for Casco Bay. See you next year for the next Easter. Bye.
Thank you. Sounds great. Thank you.
We just have another couple minutes here. So I think we'll take maybe one or two questions. I think, I know there are a few more questions about school specific kind of things and programs. There were questions about music, and those would be the kinds of things that really get featured in the school open houses. in terms of the music programs and opportunities. And we're happy to connect with, we have some wonderful, talented musicians and music program leaders, from orchestra to band to choral. So happy to connect folks to those. But I think if we can take maybe one or two, Molly, if there's kind of good process questions so people know how to approach the options process before we close tonight, would be great.
All I saw in terms of process questions were earlier questions about just timeline of the forms and that kind of thing. The others are specific to details about the school.
Okay. And I saw some questions, if, or there was a question if folks are filling out the Casco lottery, that there is a space that they will need to indicate what is their next choice if they don't get in. So that'll be part of the Casco Bay lottery form, as well as the letter of commitment. And I thought I had seen a question about Baxter Academies.
Sorry, yeah, I answered those.
Oh, you answered those.
I typed answered, sorry. The questions I type answered, I did not pose. There was questions about Baxter and Waynfleet for people.
Okay, that's why they're disappearing. Thank you, Mom. Okay.
I have a few more hands raised. Aaron, I don't know if you want to offer those ones or not.
Yeah, particularly if there are multilingual families that,
All right, let me ask him if he needs an interpreter before I release them. Hello, Edison, do you have a question and do you need an interpreter? You might need to unmute yourself.
Okay, hold on.
Do you need an interpreter or do you want to ask in English?
Yes.
French?
Okay. French, yeah. French.
All right, hold on. All right, Josephine, are you here? I've released you for French.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Edison.
Edison.
Josephine, bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Ndashaka mu Gifaransa cyangwa ndabwiye mu Kirundi ari
Nta kibazo mvuga mu Kirundi.
Okay. Nagenda kubaze naruje forme ya hoteli ya Casco Bay narayujije forme keze yayidepoje no munsi. Iyo hoteli natayitoye tuzishobora kuja ku rindi shure cyangwa kazoja muri high school next year.
Okay. Kubaza. Yes, Maureen, you can release, put me back in the.
Do you want to ask or are you all set?
Yeah, I want to ask the question for the parent.
All right, ask us in English and then I'll stick you back in your room.
Yes. Okay. I have a question. My daughter is already filled the form, Casco Bay form. She wants to go to Casco Bay, but in case she doesn't win the lottery, does she have a second option for high school?
Yes.
All right, let me put her back in. Hold on a second.
Yeah, the kind of final choices we hope kids make by March 5th.
Donc le choix final, nous aimerions que les élèves font leur choix final avant le 5 mars.
So if a student didn't get a spot by March 1st, they'd still have an opportunity to secure a spot at Portland or Deering. And sometimes students put their name in the Casco Bay lottery and then they decide, you know what, I do want to go to Portland or Deering. And so it can shift, and putting your name in the lottery does not mean you have to attend Casco Bay. Sometimes people change their minds.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Aaron, there's one question that's come up a couple times in terms of just siblings and the Casco Bay lottery.
Yep. So the way that works is our tenet is to try and keep families who want to keep their kids together in high school together in the same way that they could do that at Portland and Deering. So if you have a sibling of a current 9th through 11th grader at Casco Bay High School, then that 8th grader is guaranteed a spot in the 9th grade class. But if you had a sibling who is older than that and maybe has graduated or is currently a senior, then it makes no difference in the lottery. It's no advantage or disadvantage. It's only if it's keeping siblings together from the same family while they're in high school, during the years they're in high school, if that was clear.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this.
Aaron, can I announce something? Because we're so on our Portland Public Schools web homepage, we created a banner on the front that links to the Google site that we created for high school choice. So you can also find it there in case you lose your link that we gave you tonight.
And we'll be, again, pushing out the flyers about the open houses with the links for those Zoom events. Those are all located on the website, as Grace is saying. We'll push out those links so that everybody has access to that information. Our middle school teams are super supportive to communicate this information. So hopefully you have everything or the start of what you need to begin this process. Again, the transition is such an important time for you and your as a family to work together to make the decision about what's going to be best for your children. And we appreciate everybody taking time to join us tonight. Over 200 families, as was indicated, to be participating in the kickoff of this event. So we're super excited to have all of you as 9th graders in Portland Public Schools next year, and look forward to the next steps in this process and the school open houses, where you get a deep dive of these 3 and 4 wonderful high schools we have in the city. So thank you, everybody. Be safe and have a wonderful evening.